of mostly coarse sand. But he knows that female puffers like to lay their eggs in soft, fine sand. And he's too well camouflaged to attract attention. He sets to work, solving both problems. First, he clears a rough circle. Then he starts ploughing furrows from the outside to the center. With only his fins for tools, he works for 10 days or more to make an intricate design 2 meters across. His geometric precision can only be described as out of this world.
How does he do that?
No matter from which direction the current flows, it funnels the finest sand to the middle of his nest. There, his piece de resistance. Now for those finishing touches. And just try resistancing that, ladies. His masterwork quickly gets noticed. He stirs up the fine sand to show it off. A peck on the cheek. And watch closely. 10 days of tireless work have led up to this moment. Talk about an anti-climax. The male stays to see if he can attract a few more females, and to protect his developing eggs from the resident evil genius.
I mean, why not? It's a lot of work in 10 days. Just one female, just to breathe for a couple of seconds.
Absolutely perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. 2 meters across that circle. That's very big for the size of him.
But the male no longer maintains his nest. It slowly deteriorates.
Of course it would by the currents.
When his eggs hatch in a few weeks' time, he'll start a completely new work of art.
And he sits there, just his head above the surface, guarding the eggs.
To protect his eggs is hard to find at the sea. Most marine creatures simply sow their wild oats and let nature take its course. Extremists gather in huge numbers to broadcast their genetic materials to the world in unison. In the alien abyss, broadcast spawning is the rule rather than the exception. Even the coral itself does it. What is broadcast spawning? All the males and females release eggs and sperm into the water at exactly the same time. This magical wonder of the natural world is the reef mating with itself. Timing is everything. Guided by the moon, the corals spawn in supernatural synchronicity.
Is this where the water turns milky?
In the space of half an hour or so, millions of coral polyps release eggs and sperm into the water. Each is only viable for a few hours, so they need to get together quickly to create new life. To maximize their chances, the fatty egg and sperm cells float up to the surface where they'll be in closer contact. The newly created embryos will drift off on the currents to start new colonies elsewhere. The famous plankton soup that feeds everything from jellyfish to whale sharks is made up almost entirely of the eggs and developing young of broadcast spawners. A tidal channel in one coral atoll attracts one of the world's largest spawning aggregations. No, not the sharks. They're here to watch the show. Watch and snack. 700 or more grey reef sharks, collectively known as the Wall of Sharks. More apex predators that could possibly survive in such a small area if it wasn't for one thing. A progression of different fish species come here to broadcast spawn over the winter months. The most spectacular show is the one put on by the camouflage grouper. Camouflage groupers from all over
Grouper are the big fish, aren't they?
descend on Whakaara Atoll to spawn.
I've seen groupers in aquariums, and they are big.
Great big fish.
The groupers are sequential hermaphrodites. They start life as females, which are slightly darker.
They're at least as big as the TV screen here,
The older
Yeah.
male fish are normally
in
solitary
size
territory.
spectrum.
Confronted
And
with
I've
such
seen divers go up to them and stroke them, and they just move along beside them.
Some mute their camouflage colours in an attempt to avoid confrontation. But often, it's just too crowded.
Looks like they were having a conversation.
Because groupers come from far and wide, they not only maximise their chances of success, they also minimise inbreeding. Their numbers build for 2 weeks, leading up to the full moon. By day, an eerie truce holds between the sharks and their snacks. The sharks are nocturnal predators. At night, they turn into highly active, agitated hunters that ferret out food. Thanks to the massive aggregations of spawning fish, hundreds of sharks rarely need to leave the area. Morning reveals brutal injuries among the survivors. These must be some of the bravest prospective parents in the ocean. Finally, at dusk on the night of the full moon, the groupers are ready to spawn. The females take in water to hydrate the eggs they have been carrying all this time, causing their bellies to swell. Groups of groupers rise into the tide to release millions of eggs and sperm.
It's unbelievable when you think about it.
While still dodging the sharks.
And this is going on all over the world, different places,
Within an hour and a half,
24/7.
it's all over. The extra high full moon tide sweeps the fertilized embryos out to sea to join the plankton soup. Groupers spawn conventionally for fish, just on an alien scale. But what about the secondary players in this tale? The sharks. As it turns out, they're the real weirdos when it comes to mating. Sharks don't broadcast their eggs and sperm to the world. They're strictly person to person. And it's awfully awkward. Because doing it in the open water is about as easy as it would be in the weightlessness of space. And the only thing these freaky fish have to hold on with is their teeth. Which makes it almost impossible for him to pump air over his gills. If she's not interested, the female can arch her tail to prevent access, knowing he'll run out of breath. Only if she consents can he insert one of his claspers into her cloaca. He fills a sack that runs along his belly with seawater to pump his sperm inside him before he suffocates. Whether it's alien crop circles,
God.
otherworldly orgies, or synchronized spawning, the most bizarre rituals in the ocean are usually about finding a mate and passing on your genes. But you have to wonder, who are the real aliens down here? The creatures going about their business, or the ones in spacesuits recording what goes on down in the alien abyss?